Hello people of YouTube, my name is Brad. This is my channel, Animate Orange, and welcome to an ICONX review video today. If you can't tell by the title, we are going to talk about the Targayen Sigil ICONX model from Metal Earth. And this is just the silver version, but as far as I can tell, the same thing goes for the color version as far as building is concerned. But we're going to talk a little bit about this model because there's really not a ton to review. This is probably the easiest ICONX model I have ever built. It only took me 1 hour and 10 minutes to put this together. If you're a big Game of Thrones fan and you've never built a Metal Earth or ICONX model and you want somewhere to start with this one. It has some challenges, but for me, somebody who's built 250 models at this point, it wasn't a big deal at all. Again, 1 hour and 10 minutes. I have recently been building a lot of models that were 4+ hours long. So this is a really nice break from all of that. I really enjoyed the build and I'm very satisfied. Even though I don't really know hardly a thing about Game of Thrones, I'm very satisfied with what I've got here. This nice sigil metal looking thing on what appears to be some sort of rock face or ice face. Now I honestly don't know because I've not watched it. But it's just really pretty and got a lot of detail to it and whatnot. It looks from the start, the first few pieces you put together is the center part with the dragons in it, and it looks a little intimidating trying to get some of the tabs lined up, but really it was super simple. There's only 2 or 3 tabs connecting each part together. They line up really easily. You just got to take a moment to make sure you find them and bend them over, and then once you've connected them, there's a suggestion to bend out this one wing, which was easy to do. You put it on a plate. There's a big ring that goes around it, nice and easy. Another ring that goes on that kind of fans out a little bit. Not very tricky, the size of it. If you're just careful and do it with your fingers, easy peasy. It gets slightly complicated when you start putting all of these rock face pieces on. But even they are not that difficult. I think one of them, I have to look and find the part number. Part 9, I believe, this one over here is one of the first pieces that you put onto the front. And the top part kind of folds over, and the way it lines up at one end for the tab is slightly different than the way the back lines up with the next edge. So the top of it's a little bit warped. Whether that's intentional or not, I don't know. Probably was, but it kind of gives it a more three-dimensional look. Really not hard to work that one out. All these pieces fold up fairly easily. The tabs line up fairly easily. Where it gets challenging, if I dare even call it challenging, is when you're about to put the back on, but first you have to put these side pieces on that go around the edges here. There's 3 of them, and the first one just has a few minor bends in it, really easy to put on. The other 2 you have to sit. What I did is just laid this flat in front of me, what I had already built. It wasn't this complete yet. Laid it flat in front of me so I could see the edge that I had to shape, and held the part near it and just kind of eyeballed all the twists and turns in it. I didn't get it perfect, but I got it close, and that's all I needed. Once I started attaching it, I could make the minor adjustments and start at one end and work to the other and get all the tabs connected. Then the second piece, same thing, just try to get the basic shape of the angles by looking and seeing where you're at, and then connecting it and making modifications as necessary. Then when it comes time to connect the front and back together, there are a few tabs, namely where it starts to drop off right here, because this part's very thick and easy to line up, but then it kind of steps down or steps up depending on which way you're looking at it, and that was kind of challenging to get the tabs lined up, but not that bad. And again, 1 hour and 10 minutes later, it's all done. So as far as the meaning behind the sigil, I can't really speak on that, but as far as a Metal Earth model or an ICONX model, for anybody who really wants a Game of Thrones model, it's a great one to start with. It's really not complicated to put together. It's a real good introduction to ICONX builds, with the exception being, typically when I think ICONX, I think of a large model with a lot of little details. This has a lot of detailed engraving, but it doesn't have anything in the way of tiny little parts. And usually ICONX models have tiny little challenging parts to fold, line up, and get into place. This one doesn't have any of that, which makes for a really fun, easy, and relaxing build. So I'm not going to complain. I'm not complaining at all, just pointing out that there's a bit of a difference there. It's not what I expect from an ICONX model, but I am very, very pleased with the results. And we're back to silver. There's been so many colored models lately, and there is a colored version of this available through Barnes & Noble. Your local store may or may not have it, but you can order it online. But this is very nice looking model. Well done, Metal Earth. One more thing that I want to comment on that I'm literally just now figuring out as I'm putting together this review. Part 8, which is this kind of flared out piece that goes around the sigil itself. There is a bit on the instructions that indicate, it's like an attention point. Talk about the attention points all the time when I do the build videos. And they always have wording with them, and they're kind of easy to miss. And they usually have to do with alignment. In this case, there was an attention point saying there's a particular way that this aligns. I think there's a mark on the inside. I can't see it now because I put the model together, and I completely missed it at the time. Part 8 needs to be attached to the back of the sigil a particular way so that the 3 tabs on the back will line up with the 3 tabs here, because you can't get to any tabs down there. So there's only one way this goes on. I completely missed that. When I got to the end and was putting this piece on, I just figured, oh, there's just 2 slots. They put 3 tabs evenly spaced, and one of them is not used. And I managed to get it together with this tab here and this tab up here. But this tab over here, I didn't put on and just completely missed it. Just, I make these mistakes so you don't have to. Now that I'm looking back and studying the instructions and putting stuff together, I'm like, oh, yeah, I completely missed out. Now, this is probably an easy fix. I could pry up these 2 tabs, pull this off, carefully pry up the tabs that hold it on, shift it, put it back together. It's a pretty easy fix. I'm going to leave it alone for right now and just not take the chance of breaking something, because it is sufficient to hold this on. I basically put it together, slightly shifted. So 2 of the tabs lined up, the 3rd one doesn't. It's holding on, it looks great, it's fine. If it becomes a problem later, which I don't foresee because it's just going to sit on the shelf behind me somewhere and look pretty, I'll come back and fix it. But be warned, there is that one detention point, and I glazed it right on over it, and if I glazed over it, probably somebody else out there that's going to do the same. I'll leave it at that. If you have any questions or comments, as always, feel free to leave them down below. I also want to say thank you to Metal Earth for sending me this model to review. Thank you very much. It's been fun. As always, thank you for watching, and keep on keeping on.